Yeah, Lou. I look forward to Crash Chat too. It's my favorite. Always was my favorite thing. Back when Jeff ran it, was like my favorite every other Sunday kind of activity. So we're back. It's 2025. We're still calling this, I guess, season 3. But we're the episode 9 with the new cast of characters here. Chris Dice DJ is not with us tonight, so I'm going to play the role of Chris as best I can. I'll try and hold up the standards that he set for us. He's over at the Eagles game. I'm sure he's got zero voice because the birds pulled out an interesting win today. They didn't play their best game, but they look like they're going to be tough. If that wasn't their best game, they're going to be a tough one to face. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to bring the panel in real quick, and we have a couple of special guests tonight. We have an interesting topic, I think. A topic that I'll talk about in my come out role here, but it's going to be, we're going to bring it. Let me just show you who's here. I'm going to stop yapping and show you who's here. We got the OG Gargoyles here, the original Gargoyle. We got Brian, the Holy Roller. We got Dylan, of course, and Craig from Old Bay Crafts. How you doing? How you guys doing? Good to see y'all.
What's up?
Good to see y'all.
Evening.
Doing good.
Yeah. So we're going to do a little come out here, and what I want to do is give y'all just a few seconds to kind of, about a minute or so to kind of talk about whatever's on your mind today, and then we'll get started. So let's actually start with Gargoyle. You can go first here. Let's go around the horn and we'll finish with me.
Well, my come out role is this year I'm going to help some of the small channels grow, get some subscribers, get some attention, and grow. So every chance I get, I'm going to give kudos, mention their names, mention their channel, because I think we need these guys. We need them around. Some of them are doing some good stuff.
100% agree. We used to do a lot more of that than we do. I know I used to. I kind of got out of practice with that. That's a great call out. And there's a lot of really good new channels. Have you seen the Advantage Gaming channel? The Will with his dice control. He's very, very good. I had a nice conversation with him last week. He's a good dude, and I think he's really coming at this in the right direction. So very cool. Thanks for that. All right, Brian.
Hey. All right. So my come out role is not going to be cruise related, but it will be craps related in the sense that I think one thing I've been talking about on my channel is I think we're expecting too many roles to get out of the hand. I think a lot of times people have a system or a strategy and they're like, all I need is 5 hits to be profitable, or 3 or whatever. I think if you're shooting more than 1 or 2 hits to get out of the hand, you're probably overreaching the game of craps. So that's my come out role. I think we expect too much from those dice.
Perfect. I agree. I couldn't even agree more. Dylan, you're up, man.
Yeah, I completely agree with that 1,000%. So I completely agree with that come out role. My come out role is that I'm visiting new channels. That Skunky Sweat or something like that. There's a new one out. He's really fascinating and has his kids on and does different little things like that. So it's a new channel that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention. Go check it out. And that was my come out role. There's a lot of new fun channels that are coming out, and these guys are trying hard. So they deserve some attention. That's
Skunky Sweat. Skunky Sweat might be the best channel name of all time. I'm just saying. Did you see, by the way, all of you, just quick show of hand before we go to Craig, did you see who's back putting videos out?
Is that the one fin fish?
No, he's in chat though. No, Dangerous Arm Craps is back. Remember Dangerous Arm from like way long time ago? You talked to Jeremy from Color Up. Yeah, Jeremy from Color Up used to say that was one of the channels he started watching before he even made his channel, Dangerous Arm Craps. And he's back putting videos out. I remember his last couple of videos. He put his Glock on the table while he was shooting. Remember that? Yeah. Like literally. And then his channel went away. He's like, yeah, I mean,
I wonder why.
But he's back. And he's got a real table now. It's interesting. So, all right, Craig, what do you got to say?
All right. My come out's a little genuine, but it just has to do with it is a new year. I am done being afraid of bouncy tables because that's all I have locally. So I have a new toss I'm learning thanks to Gargoyle. It's working for me. I happen to know that he worked with Jeff with the same toss, but it doesn't work for Jeff. But I think it works for me because for whatever reason, so when I was 9, uh, I had an accident playing baseball, and the baseball jammed me in my middle finger, and didn't break it, but it forever bent it to the right. But I think because of the way Gargoyle and I worked with him changed my toss, it actually helps course correct my dice from the traditional par toss. I think because my middle finger is the finger that it's used with the thumb to grip the seam, and if my middle finger is crooked, well, my toss is going to be automatically crooked. So that's something I'm going to be learning this year. And it's the kind of toss that you can do on either a hard or a bouncy table. You just have to change the landing zone. And on top of that, I don't know if I need to come out live anymore. I mean, I've been out of it for 3 weeks, and I'm gaining subscribers without doing any content. So is that the new way for 2025?
Right.
No content.
No, you're
No,
getting
it's not.
subscribers because I've been telling people about your channel.
Oh, you've been telling. Okay, so it's word of mouth. All right, it's word of mouth. So I'm gonna have to do a live at some point. Yeah, I'm only 50 away from 1,000, so I'm getting there.
Wow.
Slowly.
That's awesome.
You all got there years ago, but you also started 2 years before I did. That's my comment.
All right. Well, my comeout's on screen.
Craig, we all know about your middle finger too.
Yeah. It was funny. I was telling people at the, so if you don't know this, I was at Casino Quest in Vegas this weekend, and we did our first ever bridge seminar, which was amazing. We had, I think, 16 or 18 people there, kind of just getting our feet wet doing this thing. It was all about what you see on screen: mindfulness, EQ, and I added some DI into it. Okay, and what I mean by that is, and this is going to be a shout out to our friend top left there, Gargoyle. This idea of being in the moment. People asked me, everybody asked me, do you believe in DI? Do you believe in DI? I'm like, well, look, so if it works or it doesn't work, it doesn't really matter. What matters is when the dice come, I see them, I flip them, I stack them up, I take my breath, do my thing, throw them out there, say the world's fastest Hail Mary, and make my bets, right? It's being in the moment, right? The lifestyle of this, practice, rhythm, and getting it done is so important and critical. I think it's a non-physical part of the game, right? It's not, it's you. I don't know that the spirit world or the angel on your shoulder has anything to do with anything, right? But these are things that make you not make mistakes. If you're like in the moment, you're not making mistakes. And I was telling people, like, you all suck at gambling because you make mistakes because you're too busy farting around and not in the moment. And I think the practice of DI, being in the moment and understanding why you're there, what you're doing, really helps you to not screw up. And I think there's money lost on that. So that's my comment, role. Just kind of be a star of your own show. I think it's really an important thing. And I think I say that to people so that I hear it myself. I got to remind myself that that's the truth. So that's my comment, role. All right, let's move ahead. I'm going to change screens. We're going to go to that my favorite. I have to do all the work and talk at the same time. So God, forgive me over here. Active speaker. There it is.
Oh, you act like you've never done it before.
I've never done it and talked at the same time. It's like too many freaking buttons to push, man. I want to bring Brian out really quick. And the topic of tonight's show really is going to be a lot about this idea of leverage. Okay. And you had a video that came out a while back about using leverage. And I defined it here. I don't know why it's not showing. You know what? I got to put him up. Hold on a second. Let's go.
Yep. That's Brian.
No.
Did we lose John on that?
No, he's still here.
Oh, okay.
When I go to this screen, it usually turns me off, so I don't overwrite you. But I want to let you talk about leverage a little bit. This is going to be a great discussion because leverage can be defined in a lot of ways, right? The base definition I got here, it's just something to max advantage, right? In the financial world, we use leverage a whole different way, right? Mm-hmm. And I think craps and gambling in general combine this idea of using something to maximum advantage, but what the something is, I think we're all going to probably disagree on. So I'll let you have the floor here. And why don't you summarize what your definition of leverage is and how that video that you did sort of brings that to fore?
Well, I didn't know what the topic was before I I just found out, which is
Oh my
totally
gosh.
fine. That's
Yep.
totally fine because this is what we're supposed to do. Just be
Exactly,
ourselves,
right?
answer our
Totally.
questions. And the thing about this video that I did is kind of related to my come out role. I think we're expecting too much when it comes to how many rolls we need to get out of the hand. And there are different kind of leverages. And I had plans to have a part 2, part 3, and cover all the different ones. But the first one I did explore was using your bankroll to leverage your risk on the comeouts. And there's different ways to do that. Most people want to start small and use the casino winnings that you get to risk more. And that's how they do leverage. I think that's great. My concept from the get-go was because I think we're expecting too much out of the dice. I think we're coming to the table with not enough money to survive long enough to actually catch a roll. And that's what the main point of that was. Like most people would say a 44 inside, if you're going to do 44 inside, get 10 shooters and have at least $400 or $500 so that you can bet 10 shooters at $44 each. Well, my main concept was that, okay, get one hit that pays $49. Then take that, which would be more money on the table, a $42, 6 and 8, 35 on the 5 and 9. Take that money that you would go out with and times that by 10, and then come to the craps table, and you could be knocked off on that big amount for 10 times and play. But if you get one hit on the inside, you could go down to 44 and play as aggressive or as conservative. You could play any way you want, but use your bankroll to leverage the rest of your play.
Mhm.
That was my main point.
Okay. So the idea there, again, put your bankroll to work, right? And I think if I'm going to jump in here a little bit, when we started doing the Daily Paycheck series way back, I was doing a 10% or 20% buy-in, 10% win goal, and it was like rinse and repeat kind of thing. And I was doing these little tiny bets, right? I remember buying in for $1,000, trying to win 100, $10 at a time or $25 at a time. And somebody got in my ear and said, hey, you're buying in for $1,000, use the $1,000. You got the money. That's your leverage. Use the money for what you brought it. You brought it to win X, use it to win X, right? And it was like this mind-blowing experience, right? You're taking the same tact, right? Use a bigger chunk of your bankroll for a very short period of time. Leverage your stack so you can play the way you want to play. Is that kind of a good summary of that?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to how many rolls you need. I mean, if you have the inside, you don't have the 4 and 10, you don't have the horn numbers, and you don't have the 7, obviously. So if you only have the inside numbers, that is half the ways of the dice. But so you have a 50-50 chance, you can say. I know it's not true, but you could say you have 18 ways to win, and let's just say you have 18 ways not to win, right? And so you got to go for it. That was the concept. Go for it on one roll, and hopefully get that half of the dice to hit, much like if you're betting half of the roulette wheel. If you're at roulette and you bet all the numbers on one half to try to win, it's even better than that because craps is a much better game.
There you go.
But with the
All right, what say you guys?
so
Go ahead.
you know, it makes a lot of sense because why? Because if you're really talking about the probabilities of when things happen, going out there and it's going to take a little bit more risk up front, but it's for a shorter amount of time. And you're trying to get out of the hand early like that, doing it that way, you're going to have your ups and downs. But if you keep consistent And you're like, every time I go, I'm going to have this bankroll that does this for 2 hits. And then you get out, you're going to have good streaks as well as, but then you just got to learn that if it's not happening that day, you either have to have the discipline to walk away or discipline to change up what you're doing. And not many people want to change up what they're doing, or they chase their losses. I mean, the last 2 years have been abysmal for for people like me who've only been playing this game for a few years. I'm sure when all of you started in your first 2-3 years, you probably didn't win as much as you did 10 years in.
Depends on the rolls. Depends on the hits, right?
Well, and that's the other part of it is, you have your money at risk every roll. Like the other side of it, like I do the light and the darkness a lot, is where whatever I'm gonna bet. If I'm a bet, 66 inside, I'll put 75 on the don't pass, risk it on that come out roll, and then I know I risked my money on the first roll. And if I can get past the come out, then I'm playing. The other way is you put it out all on the light side for Gargoyle. If he's at the table, don't go dark, but you put it all out on the light side, and then you're looking for that one hit, and then you go down. You just take everything down and use your winnings.
Sure, but let's go to Gargoyle because the question I got about the leverage thing is this, and there's 2 ways to look at this, and David and I talked about this yesterday. You can go in craps. This is not a true statement, but it's mostly true from 2 directions. You start low and use the wins that you get as leverage. Use the casino's money against them, right? Leverage your wins to hammer them. Or, like Gargoyle does, go out a little bit bigger and regress down because he has enough bankroll to leverage early, come down, and then bring the hammer. So Gargoyle, come on in and talk about the differences between that and why you chose the way that you chose.
So what I would say is, it depends on who has the dice, right? If it's just me and I have a baseline, pretty much all rolls are going to be short, and I start with that baseline, and I have certain sectors of numbers that I look and see where my money is and change bets based on those sectors. But if I'm tossing the dice, I'm going to go high for a few hits and then regress down because I know what I'm capable and I know what my intent is. The result sometimes may not be what my intent is, but that's how I'm rolling. But if there are a lot of people at the table, you use mindfulness, and we did a series on mindfulness some time ago, last year, and it's about reading the table, figuring out who's who at the table. Is there anybody setting the dice? Is there people just picking up, throwing the dice? Are they local? Listen to them talking to the dealers. I look at that because that gives me information. It's like poker. You're sitting at a table with a bunch of people. You're trying to read. You're trying to figure out, okay, who's the shark and who's the little fish. And sometimes
who's
I'm
the bait?
Fish.
Who's the shark and who's the bait?
I'm shark bait, right? But if there are locals, I may take a chance on them because they know how to toss the dice at that table. That's my theory. I don't go inside and stuff like that, but I will usually, regardless, I'll do a $6 a $30 6 and 8 simply because if I'm not shooting the dice, I go with what the math says. The math says you have odds on hitting 6 and 8 are higher than odds of hitting, because you have more ways to make a 6 and 8 than a 5 and 9 and a 4 and 10, right? Just the simple fact of what the odds say of ways to make numbers. And if the roll progresses, then I'll use whatever I'm making of the 6 and 8 to fill the line. And then if the roll progresses more, I fill the line. If it's a short roll, I'm only lost, $60. That's how I, build up. If if I see a local, somebody talking to the dealer and they're local and they, and stuff like that, I'll probably go 160 across on them because I have the bankroll to do that. And see whether they know how to throw the dice on that table or not. If somebody's setting the dice and, I may go 160, I'm willing to take the risk because at the end of the day, it's risk versus reward. If you're risking money for $5, a lot of money for $5, that's, to me, that's, I wouldn't do that. But if I'm risking money for $50 or half what I have on the line, then I'll take that risk. I'm a huge risk versus reward person. So I tend to risk for reward. I'll put a $25 on the horn if I think, that we're missing that from the ATS. If I'm missing a number from the ATS, I'll hop it for 2-3 rolls. If some of you that played actually at the casino with me have seen me do that, because I'm a huge risk versus reward, and yeah, I mean the way Brian is playing it, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's very difficult to build from bottom up. And if all short rolls are going to be short, to me, it's like when I say short, under 6 or 7, based per the math, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm willing to lose a little bit on somebody that I don't know or something like that. I'll put a $30 6 and 8. But if I'm rolling, or if there's another DI that I know, I'm willing to take a bigger risk on that person.
So if you're going, if you're going 160 across, what's the most you can win on one hit?
If you're going 160 across, you can win 35 on the inside.
Or 49. Yeah, or 49. So
49, yeah.
So my point is, okay, you get your one hit. You're a lot of people don't realize this, but you're betting $160 to win 49 or 35 or lose it all. And so
right.
my point was, put out the 160, get your 49 and then go 44 inside, or get your 35 and do a 5, 6, and 8 or something like that. That was the concept.
No, right? Yeah, no. I hear what you're saying, but when I go 160 across, I'm not regressing. I'm going 160 across for a few hits, and when I have 2 hits or 3 hits that makes up half of that, then I'm good. I'm only losing half of what I have. That's when I start pressing and taking, because the roll is progressing at that point. But the only regress I have is when I go 640 for 4 hits and then I go down to 160. That's the only regress I ever do. Usually if I'm starting with 160, I don't take it back down to like $30, 6 and 8. I'm putting it there to take a few hits and then build it up. Because I'm willing, again, I'm a high risk, high reward, type of person. And I have the buy-in to be able to, go through the ups and downs of the of the game. But I won't go 160 on just anybody. It's got to be, I have to, it's got to be somebody that I have a feeling based on how I read the table that person may do something. Again, it's a feeling, right? I'm not saying that that person is not a good shooter and that person is a good shooter, because you never know. Somebody that just picks up the dice and flings it may get on a 30 roller, right? But if they do, I can make money because I'm starting with a 6 and 8 and I can build a line and make money. When people, the people that start low and they see people go 1,200 across and they're racking a lot of money, 9 times out of 10, that person is going to lose their ass off, right? They're just getting lucky on that one big roll. And that's how they stay in the game. They make a lot of money and then they stay at the table. And I've seen it, in Yo 11 and I were at Murphy. And the guy made a lot of money on our rolls. And then I begged him to get off the table and go eat with us. No, I'm good. I went home. Yo 11 called me and he said he's walking broke. I mean, he had like at least $15,000 in the rack, but because he didn't change his betting style. Those people that bet high either have a big bankroll that they can withstand the up and down, or 9 times out of 10 they're gonna lose it, and they're just getting lucky. So don't feel like you're missing out. If you're going 6 and 8, building the line, if you make $120 at the end of the day from that one roll, betting, starting with the $60, you've doubled what you have from your rack. That's how you think about it. You put $60 out of your rack on the table, and at the end of the day, let's just say you made 120. You doubled or tripled what you put in. Everything else, the casino put it and took it. You're still up. So that's pretty good. The small wins add up. Don't feel like discipline. Don't feel like you gotta put all the money out there because somebody else is putting $1,200. There's a lot of discipline. You have a discipline. You're disciplined. You can go across for one hit and then go inside for 40, or no, I'm sorry, for 44. And now you have more money in your rack, and you take a couple of hits, and then maybe you can go $12, 6 and 8. You have more money in the rack, and you're disciplined like that. That's awesome. That's a different style of playing. Some people don't have that discipline.
Yeah, and I think, and this is probably a different subject, but I think there's a difference between what people call a strategy and a system.
Right.
Craig talked about changing according to the table, or knowing when to switch. I think a system, you just stick with it. And a strategy is like, well, if this happens, I'll do this. It's kind of, a lot of strategies start off systematically, but then they morph and they switch. And that's why I say a system is you do the system and then you're done. So if I did my high and I went to 44 and I won some money, and then I lost all the 44, whatever I won during that round, I would put out again until my bankroll, until I'm getting into my bankroll. Once I get into my bankroll, I'll go back out for a high amount to get the money to play with. And this is the criticism of it, I think. And I know because it's happened too, where you put your money out and you lose it. You don't get that one hit. Well, how are you going to recover that big amount if you're just getting one hit and going down? That's where you need more hits. And then I think that's what people do, is they do maybe not a martingale, but they have that mindset where if I needed one hit this time, I need 4 hits to get my money back that I lost.
That's the problem.
Time.
So here's the thing. And I think this idea of I don't want to say chasing loss, but when you lose a big chunk of money, the only way to get it back is to win that many more times, right? You can just dig this giant ass hole. I want to go to dial in here in a minute, but I have to ask this question about leverage, because we're talking about leveraging your money in varying large ways to get down to a point where you want to really play. Like, use your bankroll to get to a smaller point and play that out. Or in Gargoyle's case, against people that you're not playing with, or people that aren't named you, using a smaller amount of your bankroll as soft leverage to kind of survive a little bit, right? What if the idea of saying, look, I went out, let's just pick a number, 160 across. Okay. Now let's just pretend that I'm playing with Brian and I've seen Brian throw, and Brian gets me 5 or 6 hits. Right. Thank you, sir. And I've made $215 on that roll. Let's pretend. Now, I was willing to risk, but 215 is not my win goal. My win goal is 500, so I'm not there yet, right? 160 was what I'm willing to risk, right? You've 7'd out, but I've got my 160 back plus 215. To me, this idea of leverage is my next out is 160 plus 215. I'm going out there like 320 across. I'm going to take what I was going to risk anyway, plus what I just won, and go out there with heavier bets, leveraging my win on the next shooter, or the next time I'm going to shoot myself, and saying, now my wins, now my hits are double size, right? I'll get to my goal in 2 rolls or 2 hits instead of 5. by using previous wins to hammer the next series of bets, right? That's leverage. And that's how financial guys do it, right? When you're in the financial markets, you're leveraging sometimes with borrowed money, but you're leveraging earnings to go out there bigger. You don't invest $1,000, take a 10-cent or a $10 profit every single month. You go out with 1,000, then 1,010, then 1,050, then 1,080, and you leverage your wins along with. Why don't we do that with our next bet? And I think that's an interesting piece that nobody's talking about.
Except
right?
Jacob.
Except Jacob. When Jacob did the video with the don't pass building, and technically speaking, I was doing that in the daily paycheck, just not realizing what I was doing. And I'm like, oh my God, like that light bulb came on, Dylan. And I'm like, this is what the secret is. Not the secret, but it's there's some sauce in that style of play. And I did it this weekend. Now I got beat twice on PSOs when I did that. So, stupid ass John lost money. But the theory behind that to me, even though I got whacked, is sound. I was going to risk that money anyway, but now I can risk that money plus. And, hello, here we are. But I do want to go to you, Doug, because you spoke up there. And I have on screen here, leverage comes in 3 directions, right? From low, tiny leverage, and just let's rock this thing up. Let's go big and come backwards, and then leverage it with all casino money. You do a system where you kind of start in the middle, right? 66 to 88, and then down to 44. So you're using some casino leverage to get a bigger bet out there. So you're using what I'm talking about, using your win to make more money, and then coming back. And then you restart the whole thing from way down here, right? Talk about the genesis of that. How is that a leverage play versus what we've been talking about to this point?
Well, it is a leverage play. It actually piggybacks off of the 154, to going to down to one hit, and so the whole key is that you're having less money at risk. Okay, so it all ties. We're all talking about the same thing in different ways. So how do I say this? The 154, you still have 18 ways to win versus the 18 ways that are working. That is a non-win. So it's a 50-50 shot. So then but risking that 154 is a lot. When you PSO, that's a huge slap in the face. Okay, so and there's no doubt about that. So I sat there years ago and dwelt on this and dwelt on this and dwelt on this, and this is how the skill 66 came into being, is that because I loved doing the one hit and down, but then you're risking a lot of money. I thought, well, my original one of my original thoughts was there's 6 ways to make the 7. That I'm going to make sure that I'm half of that or less, and so I want to get out of the hand in always less than half, which it means either 1 or 2 hits. And so I built off that foundation, and then I'm looking, I'm looking at the 154 and saying, that's just too much. That's too much. It's too much. I don't want to risk that much just to go back down to 44 and then be ahead with a $5 profit. I'm thinking, so let's go for 2 hits and let's investigate that. And so the thing is that, if you start at 66 and then you throw in that extra $1 for your second hit to go up to 88, you're risking 67. And 67 versus 154 is huge, psychologically, mentally, everything. And so, then you can drop back down, and still have that $5 profit lockup plus all your money back plus money on the table. That's the triple win. So,
but the risk, but the risk reward on that though, here's the pushback always is this: if you're 154 across, it's 1 hit, and you've got 80% chance of getting it, right? You're more likely to get it than not, way more likely to get it than not. With the skill 66, which I use quite a bit, I use that a lot on most other people that aren't named John. That one, it's a 50-50 twice.
yes.
Right. And the problem with that is that it sometimes takes 5 or 6 rolls. Every time I play the skill 66, what is the first roll the person makes? Every freaking time it's a hard 10. 100% of the time. I've been going skill 66 and a $5 hard 4 or 10 now because I'm getting burned so much. But like what happens all the time is that we forget that the probabilities fight you when you're missing numbers. And so you're risking 66 for a lot longer time. So risking 66 for 5 rolls, is that better or worse than risking 154 for one roll potentially, maybe one or two rolls potentially? That time extension, I think, is a killer. And I think that's why Gargoyle, who's on screen, plays an across bet too. I go across because I'm literally scared of missing out on something. I don't want to have to fight any more rolls than I have to. Like, give me the chance. I don't know what's coming. Is that why you go across, Gargoyle, or do you have a different reason for yours?
No. So I go across on me and on specific people for a couple reasons. Number one, and I'm not talking about stop loss here, but every person that picks up the dice, I already have a predetermined amount that I'm willing to accept a loss on that person, and that could be zero. I could just not put any dollars on the felt betting on that person until after I see something. But if I see somebody with the dice and I go 160 across, I am very, I'm okay if I lose that 160. It's an acceptable loss for me that I predetermined that I'm okay with it. And my buy-in on a full table will vary on which one has the acceptable loss. And that changes if that person hits 2 or 3, numbers, and I collect, and then they 7 out. That's okay. I didn't lose everything. I only lost a little bit. Recovering losses, of course, it's huge. You shouldn't martingale or doing anything. But I do have recovery strategies, not strategies, but recovery ideas that I do at the table. Or sometimes it's like, what, it's not for me, and then I'm out. That's my mindset here. But I've been, I've recently, somebody caught me, but I've recently been playing on the app, and I'm playing the free, the $300, and I did it with CMJ in the morning, and I did it with, I always do it with Jeff when I can. Sometimes I'm on a call, I am working, and I can't see what he's doing. John, go like this because you're going to hate what I'm about to say. So I can't hear him. I can't hear him or see him, but all I see is the rolls of the dice on the app.
Right.
So I've been playing the pattern. And so far, I've turned that 300 into over 1,000, sometimes almost 2,000, because I have a lot of people ask me, well, I don't have a big buy-in. I don't have a big bankroll. I buy in for 300, 500. How do I play? Well, a lot of times I tell them, only do this. So I started doing it so that I can see, am I just full of shit and I don't know what to tell them, or is what I'm telling them is real? And now I can, pretty much talk about that. Talk about, what did I do? What did I see? Now, patterning is one thing, but also what the playing the 6 and 8 and playing the on the shorter rolls is another. Again, I do 640 because I believe in myself that I can at least hit several numbers, and then I regress. If you're doing 6 and 8, you're missing out. I'm going to give you a quick example, okay? If I buy in for 5,000, somebody buys in for 500, and I go 640 across for one roll, and they go 6 and 8, $30, 6 and 8 on each. We're both betting the same percentage of our bankroll. I'm of our buy-in. Sorry, not the bankroll, but the buy. Okay.
Yep.
we're both saying, please no PSO. He's praying for a 6 and 8. I'm willing a box hit. Any box hit that I get pays 140. I can go down to 160 and only have $20 in jeopardy now. They still have their entire percentage that they started with. I lowered the percentage of my play down to like 2%, right? Because I only have $20. Now, they have no other choice but to do $30 6 and 8. If they go 160, that is a huge jump on their percentage of their buy-in. That is not a smart move. They have to stick to the smart, but they are in a tight spot where with me, I have more options. So a larger buy-in is not an ego thing or a tap on the shoulder thing. It gives you options on what to do. A smaller buy-in puts you in a box. People have lots of strategies out there, right? And sometimes you need a good bankroll for that strategy. You need a good buy-in, or else it puts you in a box. With a smaller buy-in, and I'm finding that out on the app, right? This is something that I'm experiencing on the app. I can't do what I want to do. I'm in a box, and I'm always trying to see what can I do to expand my options out of that box with a smaller buy-in, because, and I'm starting to slowly figure it out, and I keep sharing it, because the more I figure out, the more I share, because it's real. It's real experience. You got somebody with a dice throwing, and you have, a place where I'm making bets with a smaller buy-in. I'm not jumping from 5,000 to 17,000 like some people do on the app, and I guarantee you that's not how they play in the casino. I don't care what they say in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how they play in the casino. I will 100% guarantee it, unless they're millionaires. Everybody walks up there and then puts a couple of dollars, goes 44 inside, but in the app they're like, hopping the red for 5,000, doing this for 2,000. You're not going to gain any, and I'm not. Right. I know I'm going to get some haters, but you're not going to gain any factual experience.
You won't get any haters for that. Yeah, no haters for that. People and the chat's talking about it too.
Betting like this, you should bet like as if you are in the casino. That way, you gain experience. So I'm glad. It's not about the license, right? I mean, I've given away licenses on Jeff's show. Mm-hmm. It's not about buying the license. I don't want the the option of rebuy and 5K and all that. I want the box, because I want to learn how to play in the box and help others by coming up with not strategies, not systems, but options. I don't know if that makes sense, Brian.
It makes total sense. No, it makes sense. And the chat's talking about it too, by the way. The chat, you'll never get haters for talking about Crapsy this way, because people who play Crapsy, are the ones who play the way you're talking about, are just trying to get the name on screen, right? They're not serious. But most people are pretty serious about it. And Duracell and Ada Sarkisian are out there talking about it. Like, play it like you play in a casino, and analyze the rolls and look at what really can happen with real people throwing real dice on real tables. Like that's the thing. You brought up a great point. I want to go to Craig with this one, because Craig and I think Dylan at some point too, are probably in the same general boat here, right? Somebody buys in for 500 versus somebody buys in for 5,000, right? There's a huge difference there, right? That the $5,000 can be leveraged differently, right? $5,000 you can go 640 across. $500 you go 64 across. It's the same percentage of your bankroll. You got the same spread, the same percentage of win. 140 on those wins versus $14 over here. It's all the same, with one exception, right? Craig, you and I, at our $64 across or our 44 inside, we have nowhere to go. Right?
Well, and I think
Gargoyle will tell you can come down
We're having to fight the table minimums, which are not $10
exactly
anywhere near me.
Yeah, it's going to
But
turn
you
into
can't,
skill 88.
right?
That's when
But that's the thing. Your leverage, though. But when you have such a small bankroll, you have no leverage. You have no way to use it. You can't the definition on the screen. You cannot use your bankroll to its max advantage when you're
Well, you
playing
can't. I
table
mean,
minimums because you can't regress, right? You have to go
piggyback off
higher.
To piggyback off G, G said, you're doing the 640 across for one hit, and the person just doing that 36 and 8, their money's still out there at risk when he got his one hit because he hit a 4 or 5
Sure.
or 9 or 10.
But apples to apples. But I'm saying apples to apples. I'm saying go 64 across, 640 across. It's the same percentage, same bets. There's no difference, other than the guy at 640 can come down. The guy at 64 cannot come down. You have nowhere to go. 640 across, you get an 8. You get paid 140. You can go 160 across for $20, and you're
The only
like,
thing you
who
can come
cares?
down to is you can come down to less numbers. So you can take your 64, get your hit, and come down to just the 6 and 8.
Sure,
Right.
Sure. But
Yeah,
that's your
I
move,
think
right? That's your move, and it's scary. It's a scary move to make. Is it not scary when you're playing a low bankroll? It's scary, and you feel like you've got no leverage. And I think that's a disadvantage to
But
you.
that's
You
where
play
John,
differently because of it.
with
That's right
experience,
there. John,
but
that's it right there.
with
You hit
experience.
it right on the head. You hit it on the head. The difference, the main difference between a smaller buy-in and a large buy-in is the mental, the fear of, I can't afford to lose a lot because then I'm off the table and I want to sit here and play. Where a larger buy-in, I can afford to lose some because on a big roll, I can, I can make it back. And when I do the app, I'm concerned because Craftsmaster Journey had some long rolls, but in one of when I first started it, he was coming off of his practice, and he had 2 rolls and he 7'd out, and I was left with like almost nothing. I had to build it up from a $30 6 and 8 because he had a longer roll. I took advantage of that roll, and as soon as I got to a point where here's the options that I was talking about, I got it to a point where I doubled that buy-in. I had $700. I regressed back down to $30 6 and 8, and I started over, and the roll progressed, so I made more money. And then when he 7'd out, I looked and I'm like, oh, I can go 160 across because I'm up to $750 in my rack. So I went to 160, and with a few hits, I went back down to $30 6 and 8. If I had stayed there, I would have probably made a lot more money. But I went from 300 to 1,600 to 3,400, I think, and he ended it. And I'm like, damn it! So we got to start all over again. And I haven't been on the channel because work started, but that was during the holidays, and I was off, and I was able to catch him. But the thing about it is, it's that mindset. And I cut off somebody, and I apologize. I don't know who I cut off, but I just wanted to make sure before I forget it, because I'm getting old and senile here. It's that mindset of you buy in and you take a few hits, but I'm okay. There's a chance I can get it back. But you buy in with that $500, you take a few hits, and now all of a sudden you're looking at $300 in your rack, and you're still waiting for the dice to get to you. You start getting nervous, and at that point you might as well walk away because you just lost everything you have in the rack, because your mental state is gone. It's dead.
Well, I think there's 3 things that we're kind of talking about. But number 1 is percentage. You're looking at a percentage of your bankroll. The other thing that I like to think about is units. You're looking at units, not dollar amounts. Just think about units, because everything you do with red units, you could do with green units, and that's the difference, or black units. The other part of it, and this is the big variable, I think, is the probability or the opportunity that you're leaving either on the table or taking off the table. Because if you start with 44 inside and you get one hit, you're going to get $14. Now pick one number, and you could do the same thing with less money, but you got one number, and there goes your opportunity. and say you take the 6 and it hits, you're probably going to want to get the 8. So now you're creating more opportunity, but you're not bringing units back to your rack.
But
Unless you're pressing it,
that's where risk
and
comes in, and
unless you're
it's
Craig.
what you're willing to put out there. You know, if I'm going, you know, let's say 66 inside, and I get that first hit and it hits a 9, it's what am I doing with it? Am I collecting it or am I doing something with it? And to me, I would rather get that first hit on the 9 and take the 9 from 15 to 35. You know, just put another risk out there for another roll. You never know. The 9 may hit again, and then you get your 49 for your 49 for 1, and then you take that and you can play your 66 inside for free now. But it took 2 hits. So there's so many different ways to play this game. It's really what you're willing to bring, making sure you have a plan, knowing what you want to do when the game starts, and knowing when it's time to walk away, because time is your enemy.
Not on a cruise.
All right, I'm going to take it.
I think that's why I think about playing with the casino's money as long as I can. Like my goal, and John talks to us about this a lot. What is your goal? So I have a different goal than a lot of people. My goal is to play as long as I can with the casino money and not have to use my money, because I'm gaining those comp value for free cruise. So I'll go out big, get my 44, and then play that, and then whatever I win, I'll go out. Like I said, I'll play with the casino or my winnings. I'll play with that until I get back down to my bankroll starting point. Then I'll risk big again so that I can, because a lot of people say, what happens if you get knocked off? Well, I'm not doing it every time. I'm doing it every series or whatever it might be that's coming around where I lost all of my winnings. So I'm trying to break even and then walk away with a $2,000 cruise. That's my goal when I go on a cruise. So not really trying to make money. I'm trying to make points. Totally different.
But once you hit that number, do you stop?
That's a good point. That's a good point, because you have, when you're on the cruise, you have a playing style that you've already proven it to yourself and others, how to get free rooms, free cruises, and all that stuff. And that's, I've asked you before, we got on, how many cruises you take, and you said about once a month. So that's a goal that you're trying to reach, and that's a play that that's and I could say, my goal when I'm in the morning by myself, my goal is to make $1,000, whether I do it in 1 session or 2. And if I have 2 sessions, my goal is to make $500. That's why I go 640 for 4 hits and down to 160, because I've gotten that, and then I'm good. When I'm with a group of folks, just having fun, my goal is to have fun and trying not to lose all my money, on everybody. So I have to be, bet smart and stuff like that. So having goals is really cool. And what you do on the cruise is probably different than what you do at the casino on land, because you may be, doing something different, because you're not worried about comps for rooms and the cruise. So you may use a different style of play. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And if I am on a cruise and I get to my point level where I think a lot of times, because we're talking about percentage, at least in my mind, I'm always thinking percentage. So if I'm trying to win a $2,000 cruise. If I have $2,000 and lose it all, I just prepaid for the cruise. But if I had $300 and I'm trying to win $2,000 off of that 300, I think sometimes that's unrealistic. But I've taken $300 and walked away with a free cruise before that's worth 2,000. So that was great for me. I don't think, because a lot of people say, why don't you just win cash and pay for the cruise? Because I think that taking $300 and paying for a cruise is kind of unrealistic, unless you get the 2-3 monster rolls and you attack. but most people don't. They realize they're in the monster roll after it's halfway done.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. I actually did a show the other night. It's not out there, but about how do you realize that a roll is happening, and how do you attack it? So most people don't realize that they're in the middle of a monster roll, and they start betting high too late, because you don't know when the sevens come, and all of a sudden you put a lot of your chip. Oh yeah, it's a monster roll. Oh, I gotta go 640 across 7. What the hell? I just lost 640. Well, you gotta be attentive. You gotta be, you gotta see what's going on at the table. But Brian, last year towards the end of the year, I wanted to make elite, and I only had one chance, so I went up to Cherokee, and I knew I was going to lose a couple $1,000s to get the tier credits that I needed to or not lose it, but I'm willing to risk it to get the tier credits to make elite. I did lose some of it, and then we went again, and I won it and more. But like you said, sometimes you're willing to risk it in order to get those other rewards that you're trying to make. There's a goal in there, and as long as you know what that goal is, and you're disciplined enough to, as soon as you get that goal, you walk away, you're going to be playing this game for a long time.
Yeah, when I make the switch to start playing for money, I'm thinking plane flight or an Uber ride, or whatever it takes to get to the cruise. So once I make the switch where I got my points and I'm trying to switch to make money now, my goal is usually, okay, how much are plane flights going to cost for this cruise that I just won? And then I try to win that money. And, so that's kind of how it works on a cruise for me.
Love the gold tier. All right, folks, let's take a quick pause. I'm going to remind everybody to like and subscribe to the video. When we come back, I got a couple of questions from the Peanut Gallery, and we'll call it a night. Like and subscribe this video, folks.
When we come back.
Like, not like.
That's so fantastic, isn't it? Isn't that great? All right, so that was good discussion. The chat blew up on a lot of different things, and it went a lot to. I was trying to read chat and talk to you all at the same time. I got a couple questions that I want to bring up, though, and these kind of tie to what we're talking about, and take us maybe in a couple of different quick directions here. But one comes from, let's see, Dicey Motion. He says, rather than the large upfront regress, what does the group think about pressing crazy, many numbers to grow and then regress, like a triple Lux type of system? Start small, hammer it, and then come down after some meaningful bet. Go from $10 to 100, get the black chip, and then come back down to 10. That sort of play. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I'll just say that I'm not a fan of same betting at all. I'm a big fan of power press. If you're going to risk, if you're going to go for a few rolls, like if the average roll is 4 rolls, then why not take that first hit on a number and power press it? Because more than likely it may actually hit within the next 3 rolls. And if you happen to catch a streak where you go inside or you go across, whatever, and the 9 hits, you power press it. Let's say the next roll, the 6 hits, power press it. Then the 9 may hit again. And then if the 9 does hit again, guess what? You can either take that chance to go again, or you can take that chance to actually regress at that point. But I like hammering separate numbers than trying to grow across up like that. I know some people like to press the sister and all. But to me, when you do that, you're just thinning your opportunity on being able to nail one number that is hitting. That's what I think.
Anybody else?
If I was going to do that, I would tower the 8. That's what I do a lot. Is I don't go on a number that's hitting Like even if a 9 hit like 3 times, I put all my winnings on the 8, and the 8 becomes my jackpot. And then when the 8 hits, I could take it or regress it down, or I could just leave it where it is. And then once the 8 hits, then I could say, okay, now let's do the 6, and I could start towering the 6 until it hits. That's how I would do it if I was doing that kind of system that Dice in Motion was talking about.
Yeah, he's
So let
talking
me
about
ask you this. Let me
like
ask you
that
this,
triple
because
lux, right? Go ahead.
because so Gargoyle brought it up earlier. You know, Gargoyle, you know, he said that he bets the way he bets when he's the one rolling. So if I'm the one rolling, you know, if you put in the practice and you're becoming a proficient shooter, you're gonna know you're gonna know your numbers. And you know, I'm sure Gargoyle will probably agree with me that, you know, right now and probably the longest time that I've been playing, 6s and 9s tend to be some of my numbers. And it's like, if you know that up front and you're the one shooting, I'm not talking about Random Randy here. Random Randy to me, and Waylon will probably say it in the chat, Random Randy hits 4s and 10s a lot. Straight shooters like me, I don't tend to hit 4s and 10s. I tend to hit 6s and 9s. So when I see that roll happen and a 9 hits, that's why I brought up the 9 earlier. So if I see a 9 or a 6 hit, I try to nail those. And I know that Brian, you know, you're saying you know, if the 9 hits, you take all that, you put it on the 8 because maybe that's your number, or maybe that's just your, you know, the 6 and 8 hits the most, right?
Yeah, my jackpot. I just make the 8 the jackpot.
Right.
Yeah.
You just pick a jackpot and it happens to be
Yeah.
6 or an 8, you know.
All right, our next question then is going to be from Dustin One. I gotta go find it again. He says it's a big question. How far would you evolve your hand? And this kind of goes into the same thing. And again, triple lux. David's triple lux is go from red, take a green, go green, take a black, go black, take a purple. Like press to you changing colors, right? That's how he evolves a hand. How far do you take it? And I think Gargoyle, you're talking about like don't recognize the hand, right? Till it's too late. But the evolution of a hand is interesting. Like, because some people get squirrely, right? Adam said it in chat. Some people get squirrely at $90 bets, even if it's pressed to $90 and it's not your actual money, like not your originating money. So $90 might scare some people, right? How do you all feel about that?
Well, I think that is risk tolerance. People, and that's where you got to think about it as it's just units, like whether it's a red unit or green unit. But I would always take it to table max. Like I'm always like, if I'm out of the hand, I'm going to table max as fast as possible. And that's why I like to try to tower the 8 and go to table max. That will force me to pick another number. And if the rolls keep happening, you know, I make the 8 the jackpot, and then if it's at table max and I hit it, I probably won't take it down. I'll just leave it there.
That was one of my points earlier is, if, you know, if you're out of the hand, and the whole thing is when you're out of the hand, shoot for the moon. Why are you still trying to single press or press by a unit when you're out of the hand? Go for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You should. So, you know, if I'm out of the hand, if I'm satisfied with what I've got, and I have greens, I take it until it's black and I collect black, and I take it until it's purple and I collect purple. I take it until it's yellow and I collect yellow. So, you know, once it's a different color, I keep pushing it until it's a different color, and then I collect, because I already made money off of it. I already made money. I'm satisfied. I don't care. You know, some people say, well, that's your money that's out there. I'm like, yeah, but I'm here to play craps at the casino, and I'm here to gamble, and I'm going to take it to the moon. And if the 7 comes out and they rake all that stuff, I'm okay with it. I made what I wanted. It's right here in my rack. I'm okay. I'm satisfied with what I got.
Would you all agree that
can I take it? Can I regress, take it all, and have a nice chunk? Sure, I can. But if the roll is developing, leave him alone. Let him go. Let him go.
Would you all agree that that experience breeds tolerance? You have a higher tolerance with the more experience you have?
Yes.
Experience doing it. You have to You have to make yourself do it. Like to go from green to black is a big jump. People won't go, a lot of times they won't go over a $75 anything, or what they don't want to see a black chip in a box number. And that's where, for me, and just to clarify, I'm only collecting on the 8. And that's how it gets to table max. Because if anything else rolls, I'm putting it on the 8. And I'm only collecting the 8. So it's essentially I'm only collecting on one number. But I mean, it could be a bad, you can let me know in the comments what you think about that. But
let's say you're doing that and the 8's hitting, right? And you're on your way to table max on the 8. And let's say 5s and 9s, you just haven't seen one in like 8 rolls. Why not just regress to 5 and 9 to table minimum?
Well, no, I
You're
leave.
hitting 8s every other roll. Or
Yeah, no, that's the point. Is I leave all of the other box numbers at minimum, and they just feed the 8. And then when the 8 hits, I collect, and I don't regress. I just let them feed the 8. I only collect on the 8. But once it gets to table max, then I pick another number, and then I'm in the monster roll because it takes a while to get there. And so then it's like, keep going.
That feels like a side bet.
But
Remember when I did the buttercup?
Remember, table max on a cruise ship is
It's only
500.
500. It's only 500.
Right.
So
Table
when I
max
say I'm going to
on the casino is
table max, it
5,000.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't take long to get to 500 table max.
Yeah, just remember that.
I got to come in. This is a complete side topic, but I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is a seat of the pants observation. My local casino's max is 500. Cruise ship max is 500. Right? Agree or disagree with this statement? People are more degenerates on $500 max tables than they are on $5,000 max tables. I've seen more people think I can get to 500 easy and just never freaking collect and just totally pedal down and donate so much money trying to get the purple chip versus a $5,000 max. You're more likely to go collect those colors along the way, but with a smaller limit, people just do this and they're just
you're right,
giving
John.
it away,
you're absolutely
man.
right. I'm going to agree.
It's kind of genius.
I hope this is recorded. Because
it is.
John and I are in agreement on something. You're correct, John.
Hugs.
You're correct. I have a color chart. I have a color chart and a number sector chart that I go by, number of rolls, and I live and die by those rules because that's my discipline. And sometimes I use it on me if I'm getting on a long roll too. But there's a color chart that I go by and a sector chart of rolls. And remember, every 20 minutes you're going to get a stick change. So whether you're what's the word? You're superstitious or not, people are going to take breaks every 20 minutes. So if a long roll happens, if the person is having 40, 50 rolls, and then you average the time of rolls per hour, there's a stick change in there. So maybe you take your money off, maybe you turn your bets off. You're missing out on some gains at that point. What do you do? No, the stick change, turn me off, take my money. I'm going home. That's it, because there's a stick change. I'm going home. There's some real superstition and there's some bullshit superstition. That's what I think. But I go by a color chart and a sector chart. And $500, it's easy to get to, but you got to get some money off of it before, just don't leave it out there. $5,000 it takes a little bit more to get to, but the concept stays the same. I don't care if I have a $30 on the 6 or the $3,000 on the 6. The play is the same. And when I practice with the same color. I'm used to seeing black chips on my bets. I'm used to seeing purple chips on my bets. I'm used to seeing that, so that when I'm playing in the casino, I don't look and say, oh my God. And they're not dollars, like Brian said, they're credits. One of the ways the casino, wins is that if it was dollars, nobody would probably play craps, because they were like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. They're credits, right? But I'm used to seeing those colors, on my table and in the casino. So I'm not fretting it. I don't care. I look and I say, oh, I got $2,500 on the 4. Well, shit, I need to hit a 4 because that's $5,000. Not like, oh my God, $2,500 on the 4. I'm gonna 7 out and lose $2,500. You have to.
Here's the
You have
thing.
to be able
So
to control
yeah,
this. You got to control
You're-
this. You got to control this.
it's interesting you bring it up, and I do want to wind us down here. But the disconnect between money and chips is a big deal. Like the disconnection that you have, and you just talked about it, right? Would you call them? You said something else besides chips, but
Units
that disconnect, units or whatever you want to call it. Imagine credits. Imagine if every time your bet won, they gave you your win and your bet back, and you had to put it up in your rack. Put yourself in that mind. Everybody, put yourself in that mindset. Would you put all that back on the table? Would you say, I don't want that. Here's the whole thing back. But because it's already sitting there, and they're giving you some, okay, stack it up. But if you had $1,000 4 and they handed you $3,000 and you went, cool, that's awesome. You go, fuck it. Put it right back out, right? Nobody's doing that. But they disconnect you from that. And it's a mind trick, right? And that's, I think, changing colors is an interesting way to kind of progress through it. But it also is this mindfulness thing. You got to remember what the numbers actually are. It's interesting.
I'll tell you what, John. You're saying nobody's doing that, but I'm going to agree with CMJ in the chat. I've seen it at local casinos. I've seen it. People put down 1,000, boom, gone. They put another 2,000 out, boom, gone. Another 3,000. Like there are degens at all levels.
That's true. That's true.
Bankroll.
Are those ladder players? Are those Marty players? Because we haven't even talked about different show topic, right? But leveraging your bankroll.
There are people with their wives behind
them.
them, smacking them in the back, saying, "What the hell are you doing?"
Well, there's three things. The three things I like to say about superstition, because everybody talks about superstition all the time. Three things I like to say about superstition. Number one, we're not superstitious. We're just a little stitious, right? Number two is that it's only superstition because it happens. And number three is my favorite. And I haven't heard this one, but I always say it. It's not a superstition. It's my hypothesis.
That's great.
I will say it differently. There's factual superstitions and there's BS superstitions. Like stick change, they gotta go. Everybody takes a break every 20 minutes, right? It's gonna happen. If you think it's happening because the casino's trying to mess with you, no, they gotta take. Drink lady comes in. Well, if you're superstitious about drink lady coming in, stop ordering fucking drinks. It's easy. But she's gonna come. She's gonna come and ask about, hey, the drink. But if the dice goes off the table and 3 people handle it and it comes to you, maybe these people have bad luck all their lives. I don't want their bad luck on my dice. There's different people go all over the place with, turn my bets off every time somebody sneezes or breathes, right? That's BS. There are certain times to turn your bets off. Arguing about missed payments, 2 dealers arguing about the shift. Somebody coming in and throwing money at the table and arguing, no, that's money plays and stuff like that. Yeah, turn your bets off. You're safe. Whatever happens. You're not risking anything because there's crap, negative energy going on the table. But stick change, it's going to happen every 20 minutes.
Fact of life.
I believe in that too, stick change, because and Ed's talked about it in lives before. He's like, if I'm the one shooting and there's stick changes, then that tells me I'm doing really good if I can get through 3 to 4 stick changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having a positive view of it is important. So a lot of times if I see a stick change, my hypothesis is that within 2 rolls, they're going to make their point or not. So I'll hop the point a couple times just because I know it's coming or it doesn't.
Here's back to there's so many ways.
Here's Gargoyle's play on stick change, right? When a new dealer comes in, they don't know. When a new stick comes in, they don't know what's been going on the table. So they're trying to figure things out. So they may be out of whack. I learned that from Heavy. So I give Heavy the credit. Throw him $10, $5, whatever, and get them in the game. Say, stick, make a bet. And then he or she will look and see, and then somebody else will say, hey, we've been rolling lots of hard 8s. Put us on the hard 8 or something like that. Get their mind in the game. Now everybody's in the game. And that's a little trick I do. It's cost me $10, whatever. It's no big deal. But people sometimes are afraid of stick changes because it breaks their rhythm. I kind of get them in the rhythm, especially if I'm shooting, or if somebody's rolling and they're doing good and I want them to keep rolling. I'll say stick. Hey, for the dealers, bet whatever you want. And immediately they're not talking about what happened in break or something like that. Their mind is, oh, I got to make a bet for us here. Because, I've seen them. They come in and they're like, hey, man, brake machine, soda machine is gone. I had to go get water and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, we're in the game right here. I don't care about what's in the break room and the soda machine not working. So I get their mind immediately on the table in the game. Heavy taught me that long time ago.
Positive energy.
Yep. All right, let's transition out. We're gonna color up now. I'm gonna change it up here, and we'll get our final thoughts. So we're gonna close the show out. Everybody in chat. So we'll give everybody here about 30 seconds to a minute to sort of speak your mind on what's been said tonight. And I think Jesus, you're up first. You're up first. I see your face there in the big chat. So let's have your final thoughts tonight.
My final thoughts. Leverage is okay, as long as you're doing it for reasons and don't try and do it just because you've seen it on YouTube one time and you think you know what you're doing.
It's beautiful. Brian.
Yeah, I would say to people watching, when they think of leverage, you always hear about it the way I've talked about it a lot of times. You talk about two ways, where it's really high and then regress down, or it's low and build it up. Skill 66, is kind of like a middle version, but really it's all about percentage and your risk tolerance. I'll share. I got 15 seconds. I'll share. If you really want to go as low as possible and think about units, just hop all the box numbers, right? 1 unit each, and then put 2 units on all the hard ways, all day hard ways, and you will win at least 4 units on every roll, unless it's a 7 or a horn. So you could be in for $18 on the table and win on every roll, except for that, 7.
All right, Jimmy, make sure you use paper plates. Sorry, I had to do that.
Well, I call that one the Waymaker. It's called the Waymaker, and it makes a way for you to play if you're not high risk tolerant. You could play very, very inexpensive, but get all the numbers, except for the horn and the 7.
All right, Craig, you're up.
Well, I wanted to say this for you, John, because you said earlier, you're like, well, now I go inside, but then I try to grab the 4 and 10. Well, if you're talking about leverage and you're talking about low risk and not putting in as much, but what you still want to get out of it, just hop the 4s and 10s. If you and I'll be honest, again, I've said this in another live before. I know a lot of people hate South Point, but they will allow you to hop numbers even though they don't have hop bets. And if you just ask your local if they'll allow you to do that, then maybe you can do that, John. When you go inside, but you want to get the 4 and 10 as well, just hop them.
Rebuttal: South Point is the worst shithole in Vegas.
They have a great bowling alley though, and good pizza, from what I understand. Dylan, what's your final word?
Well, let's see. Final words would be content with what happens. That'd be the ultimate 30-second thing. Because it doesn't matter if you're risking 154 or if you're risking 67. Your risk tolerance and your bankroll. Do you want to bring that much bankroll? Or are you have to be content with whatever happens, and with pressing, I was just, I haven't said too much on the other stuff, but that's what the School of Hard Knocks has really hit me between the eyes a lot, and I've learned to be
Mm-hmm.
content because of the School of Hard Knocks with the half pressing, and that takes a lot of stuff out where you're collecting and you're pressing. You're still bringing back to your rack, and that has saved me a lot of heartache, and you're still and your bets are still growing on the table, and then you don't care when the seven comes. It helps ease that elephant graveyard mentality. It doesn't matter when that goes down because you've made you're out of the hand, and when you're out of the hand, yeah, you can press to the moon, but did you do it wisely? That's what you got to ask yourself. Are you content with, when if that seven comes, so that seven is the next roll, are you content with what you did? And that's what you got to keep asking yourself. So be content, and there's nothing wrong with a half press.
So John, before you go, I want to just piggy off of G, how he was talking about positive energy earlier, and I want to connect it to Adam G's comment about, you know what, make 2025 better by tipping the shooter if the shooter's doing well. Not many
Yeah.
people, I don't see enough people tipping the shooter when he's giving you a monster roll or she's giving you a monster roll, or even just a roll that's giving you a lot of repeater bets. Tell them thank you at the very minimum, but hey, throw a couple of nickels on the hot bets for them, or throw a quarter their way and say, hey, make a bet for yourself. You're doing awesome. Keep the positive energy going.
I've tipped them black chips, even at Murphy. I don't know if Mr. Yo11 or Jay or anybody is in the chat, but they were on the table with me where they either hit the ATS or they hit something that I have black chips on, and one guy in the corner, I threw him $200, and he's like, "What is that for?" I'm like, "Thank you, for hitting that number." And he's like, "Nobody's ever done that for me." And I'm like, "Well, I do that all the time." No, I always bet. It's good. It's good karma. It's good vibe.
Exactly.
And I've plenty of times I've walked up to the shooter afterwards. Lou, I did it to Lou in Atlantic City. He had the good roll. I just walked up to him, shook his hand, and said, "Here's a quarter," or here's a black chip. Like, but with Lou, I gave him a quarter. I mean, I made $800, but I didn't make 8,000. If I had made 8,000, I'd have thrown him 100.
And sometimes you're threatened to give a tip. Oz, when we were at the Brownwater Bash, Oz came and told me, he's like, "You hit that 600, you collect $600 on that four from me one more time, and you don't give me anything, I'm going to kick your ass." So guess what? The next time I collected, I gave him half of it.
Oh my God.
Oz is a big guy, and he can kick my ass. So I was going to get like that.
Positive energy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes scared energy works.
All right. I'll everybody went, right? Did I miss anybody?
Yep.
I don't think I did, right? Okay. So my last thought is this. I got a couple late questions coming in, but which I'll put up after I go. But I have a couple of quick things. One is I put it up in chat or on the screen there. The caller coming in says, "What's your relationship with risk, tolerance, aversion, or appetite?" I don't like the word tolerance. Tolerance feels soft to me, and like you don't have a good relationship with your money. Risk aversion and risk appetite is a better way to talk about it. Like you don't like risk or you want the risk. There's no in between, I think, right? I think there's that tolerance. We should stop using that word. I just want to be here. On superstitions, my final thought is this. David told a story. I got to share this with you guys. I got to attend a half a day class of dice dealing on Friday. And he was doing the stick handling class, right? And he's like, all the rules of the stick man, right? All the things you have to follow. And he's like, talking about, people can't use two hands. They can't bring it up over the rail, all these kind of things. He's like, but in the old days, that wasn't the rule. And he said there was a guy that used to come to his local. He dealt the Golden Gate all the time. And he would put the dice in his mouth before he rolled and swish them around and then shoot. That was his superstition. Can you imagine anything more foul than putting dirty ass dice in your mouth? I mean, oh my God, right? So
I think the only thing dirtier would be being the next
chips.
Putting a chip in your mouth. It's the same thing.
Yeah, putting the chips in your mouth is even worse.
Everybody's touched it. Oh my God.
So there's a fine line. There's a fine line there, John, between superstitious and batshit crazy.
I
So,
mean, but that was the guy's thing. He
I
would
know where that line is. I
Yeah.
know where that
And
line is, and I never cross it.
All right, so we've got a couple of questions. I'm going to put them up here, and we'll I promise we'll talk about these tomorrow on the coffee run here on this channel at 7 a.m. Pacific time. But Duracell wants to know the best table in Vegas. I'll put up a poll question for that tomorrow morning with a few of my favorites, but I want invites in chat. If you're in chat right now, throw it in there what you think the best table in Vegas is. Everybody's got their own opinion on this, and for lots of reasons, surface, dealers, whatever. But we'll talk about that tomorrow for sure. And VDT, Vegas Day Tripper, how do you react when a person demands a tip? Think about that overnight. We'll talk about that in the morning too. That's actually a great question tomorrow morning during the coffee run. So I'm going to address both those in the AM.
Run, so
Well, give me your question. Now? If somebody demands you a tip, what do you do?
Fuck yourself.
Yeah. That is how you end the show, folks. That's how you end the show. Brian's not saying that.
Well, I would say, here, I'll give you a tip. Don't ask for a tip. That's my tip for you. Thanks for suiting. But if you did better, I give you some money.
Yeah.
If I give you a tip, that means that you deserve it. If I don't give you anything, it means that
you didn't hit any of the numbers.
Yeah. You made me $10. So what?
Right?
Go blow a horn on and shout it to the mountains and Twin Peaks.
But I like the concept. I forget who said it, but I think it is something that we all should start doing, is automatically tipping the shooter if they have a good role and you make some money. You should think about what would you give a waitress that gave you good service? Not that the shooter is a waitress, but in the same concept. So how much money did I make? Don't think about, I got back to even. But how much money did I make on this? I'm gonna give them some money, 10%. Maybe other people will start doing it as well. But that's to build the camaraderie and to build this community. I think we need to support each other, and that's a great way to do it.
100%. I think that's a good place to end it, everybody. That was a great show. Great show. Everybody, you guys rocked it. Chat rocked it. We had like 60 people watching tonight. It was awesome. Really appreciate everybody. It's Sunday night. There's a football game on. People chose us instead of football tonight. So I appreciate that, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow morning for the coffee run. Everybody else we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next episode of Crap Chat with our esteemed panel. Everybody, goodbye. Have a great evening, and we will talk to you all later.
Thanks, Gargoyle, and thanks, Brian.
Oh, thank you.